So let's talk about Capcom bringing Resident Evil to the Switch. So, to no real surprise, Resident Evil HD Remaster, the one that was originally on GameCube, Resident Evil 0, which originally came out on GameCube, and Resident Evil 4, all three of which were originally GameCube games, are getting ports to the Nintendo Switch.
That's good news.
This makes sense because these have been ported everywhere. So Resident Evil 4 was originally supposed to be a GameCube exclusive, and Resident Evil 0, I believe, was at the time as well. The Resident Evil HD remaster. I think all of those were technically supposed to be exclusives to GameCube.
But
Of course, they got ported eventually. Resident Evil 4 ended up on the PlayStation 2.
it was on the Wii, it's where I hadn't played it.
Resident Evil 4 was on, it was on the Wii. It was
We were
on
sold gangbusters.
It was on the PlayStation 2. The Resident Evil HD remakes and Resident Evil 0 also got put on the Wii. Then they got ported to, I believe it was the PS3 and 360, and now they're on the PS4 and the Xbox One. So they've been ported a billion times. I may have been wrong with one of those there, but I think that's actually accurate. So now it's the Switch's turn to get them. The Switch is getting a lot of stuff, and that's cool. However, people are a little upset over the pricing of these Resident Evil games on the Switch. They're being listed as $30 a piece. Now, that's for digital copies of games that have been out,
15 years?
Some of them, yeah, I mean, almost that long. It's got to be about that long.
Resident Evil 0 is probably around there. And then
Yeah.
Resident Evil 4 was 1 or 2 years after that?
No, Resident Evil 4 was before it. So,
And these are straight ports. These aren't remakes. These aren't remasters.
no, these are straight ports. So they're gonna have the they're getting like the simple upscaling conversions
Sure.
and stuff like that, but that's it.
Resident Evil 4 was 2005.
Um,
So 14 years.
wow. Okay. Yeah.
Which is outstanding game. Yes, I played it. Beat it all. Played through it.
That's good. That's good. So they're normally digitally they're about $19.99 a piece on other consoles. So on the PS4 you can go and get these games for $20 a piece.
Which I think would be reasonable for a game that not a lot of work went into a re-release of a 15-year-old game.
And
I guess
they did They did an Origins collection of those as well that you can get physically for the PlayStation 4, Xbox One. There was also digital where it would come with Resident Evil 0 and the Resident Evil original remake. And I think that was like $40 when it came out.
okay.
So now we're getting these on the Switch. They're $30 a piece. And those aren't for physical copies. They're doing a physical physical release of, they're doing the Resident Evil Origins collection, but only Resident Evil 0 will be on the game card. Resident Evil Remake will be a download. So you're paying $60 for a cartridge with one game, and then getting for a game that's normally $20, and then you're getting a free download code.
When did the HD Resident Evil first come out?
Around the same time as Resident Evil 4.
So a 15-year-old game they want you to repay $60 for?
$60 for 0 and the original remake,
On-
and you're only getting a physical copy of
Oh, then
0.
you got to go download the. They couldn't put both on it.
No.
Are you fuck? What?
Yeah. And this is actually a thing that some companies have been doing on the Switch, and it
save-
drives me nuts.
To save space on a smaller card.
Well, to save money on a smaller cart.
How much space do those old games take up? A gig?
I don't know. They should be able
They're
to
originally
fit
on
on the...
PlayStation 2.
There's a 16 gigabyte card for the Switch. They could totally do it.
Well, I'm saying is these should fit on an 8.
So
These games weren't huge. They came out 15 years ago.
So that's where we're at on it, and it is kind of ridiculous. I think some people are misattributing this to Nintendo. Some people are saying, well, it's to make up the price of the cartridges. These cartridges can't be that expensive to need to increase $10 a piece on a
No, absolutely not.
Especially if it's a digital version. There's no reason to increase the price of the digital version.
If you want to make the case that, it might cost a couple bucks for the bigger card or whatever. Okay, sure, but definitely not. Yeah, if it's digital, there's no cost.
Right. But Capcom and companies in general seem to be doing this with the Switch, where games that are getting ported to it for the first time are, for a large part are being charged as new games. So when we got LA Noire on the Switch, they were charging the full price for it. That's a game that you can get complete with everything for like $5 to $10 on the original Xbox 360. So there seems to be a Switch tax.
Maybe they see that gamers need this content on the Switch, so they're willing to pay more. Since like the first party games that are new aren't coming to this as normally as the other consoles, I figure, well, they're going to pay a little bit more for it. Doesn't make any sense.
But for these Resident Evil games, especially like digital versions, that's simply doing it because they think they can squeeze that extra $10.
It's just Capcom being greedy.
Yeah, and I mean,
because I can't picture Nintendo taking a bigger cut than PlayStation, than Sony or Microsoft digitally. I can't picture why they would do that.
I don't think they'd have the huge
they wouldn't have
indie game base that they do.
No, they wouldn't have the leverage to do it. They couldn't ask for more. So at the very least, they're taking you're getting the same cut. Capcom is getting the same cut wherever they're selling it, most likely. They're getting their whatever, they're 70% or something like that.
So, yeah, that's where we're at with it, and it's just that's ridiculous.
Capcom, come on.
But
this is almost as bad as your awful typewriter we spoke about. Yeah. Flashback, CU Podcast 150 episode flashback.
So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how well these will sell.
Like if Resident Evil 4 is a game that you can go back to and play because it's like a 10 out of 10.
All the games that they're selling here are good games,
but $30
right
is egregious, especially since it's been re-released multiple times.
And I finally downloaded the Resident Evil 1 remake to play it, and I think I got it on sale through PlayStation Network for $10 or $15. You know, as opposed to 30. There's just no reason.
It's like a portable tax.
Yeah.
You want to take it outside your house, you're going to pay 50% more for the game that we didn't do any real work on to come out to the system. So, okay.